Honesty, passion, experience. It's Timberwolves Explosion, hosted on the sportstuff.com. And now, your host, Paladino Joey. Extra, extra, hear all about it. Extra, extra, hear all about it. I'm your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Timberwolves Explosion, that's the name of this podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, PodMN, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Stitcher, Double Twist. Thank you once again for joining me today. Not the pleasant, certainly not the most happy situation you could think of, but, well, it is what it is, and we got to talk about it. Ryan Saunders, young Mr. 34-year-old Ryan Saunders, has been fired from the Minnesota Timberwolves and will be replaced by Chris Finch. At least that's the reports. The Toronto Raptors assistant and candidate for the Minnesota Timberwolves head coaching position when Ryan Saunders was initially hired to become the full-time head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves by president of basketball of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Gerson Rosas. That was a mouthful. But, well, unfortunately, it's kind of a mouthful as well in terms of all the bad luck, the bad record, the bad rotations, this and that. It's insane. The twists and turns in such a short tenure for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and a man that I was cheering for, I was rooting for in a big way. Nothing really bad to say about the person at all. Seems like just the greatest guy. Maybe a little fidgety, a little nervous, but so was his father, Flip. Honest to God, Flip was pretty fidgety. If you hadn't paid attention, he was pretty fidgety in those press conferences, and of course, the old neck, and moving around and everything, tugging at his collar and moving his neck around. I always got a kick out of that, and occasionally Ryan does it, but not as much. But Ryan Saunders, luckily, is young enough. He's turning 35 in April, and a second kid on the way, very shortly apparently. He'll have another opportunity, at least as an assistant for now, and probably a head coach again someday. Youngest coach in the league, youngest team in the league. It's just, I don't know, I guess it didn't work out. That's just how that goes when you combine the two together. It was destined to fail, unfortunately. And I'm not going to come up here and say, I hope all of you are happy. I hope you're all happy now because you were all haters and calling for his head. You had a right to be frustrated. And if he wasn't Ryan Saunders, it would have been easier, per se. If it was Chris Finch, if he was a 35-year-old Chris Finch who wasn't doing well, we would all be calling for his head. So it is what it is, unfortunately. We'll talk about Chris Finch as we head on later. But it was a nice start for Ryan Saunders, of course. The three-point victory, the three-point shot by Andrew Wiggins, and a 40-point game to lead to the Wolves' victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder. And how they would say on Wikipedia, the owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder was Andrew Wiggins. Well, that was cute and everything. Unfortunately, it just didn't last, even though you could argue Ryan Saunders he had kind of got the blood flowing again in the organization. Things had been so constipated under Tom Thibodeau, who also had a fairly short tenure with the Wolves. Only like 3 years as the coach and president and all that, with a few years remaining, but that's just how that goes. He was in his third year with the Wolves and already let go. Halfway through that was Tom Thibodeau. And it's ironic how, after a game where Tom Thibodeau was coaching the New York Knicks against the Timberwolves, Ryan Saunders gets fired. It's just ironic how things happen. It's weird, it's crazy, it's sad. The strings of bad luck, but of course, again, the questionable rotations, leaving players like Ricky Rubio in when he shouldn't have been doing that. Other players might have helped the Wolves win games. The epic collapses that you could just go on forever, including the New York Knicks game. And, of course, falling behind by 21 points in the New York Knicks game, and then just kind of responding with, I don't know. I don't know. But then again, I guess I would have responded with the same thing. Like, why? Why are you falling behind by 21 points in the first half in the first place? You have a wonderful fourth quarter and then have an epic collapse at the last second again. It's just, it is what it is. You miss shots. You can't make anything magically at the last second. And the Knicks make a couple shots, finally, after they'd missed like 50 in a row, it seemed like. And they end up winning the game 103-99 over your Minnesota Timberwolves, who are now 7-24 with the worst record in the league, which is good for the draft pick and everything. Hopefully we can keep the third pick overall instead of give up, say, the fourth pick in the draft to Golden State, which is about the last thing on earth we all want. I already strongly dislike the Golden State Warriors. Last thing I'd like to see is them to fleece us real good here in this one, but that would just be the way it goes. Ryan Saunders, it was just filled with bad luck, it seemed like, at the end of the day. You get D'Angelo Russell. He misses the first couple games. Carl's doing well. Carl breaks his wrist, basically. Yeah, after it being sore or whatever, and then it's broken, I guess. And then he's out for the rest of the year when D'Angelo Russell comes back. And then this year, they play together a couple of games early on. Karl Anthony Towns gets injured again. It's just so frustrating. And then D'Angelo Russell, when Karl Anthony Towns comes back, magically D'Angelo Russell's out. So, again, 5 games in a calendar year with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns together. That's all Ryan Saunders got to coach, of Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell together. Apparently there was a strain between the two for an extended period. It seemed like they were always kind of throwing a little shade at each other, especially D'Angelo Russell, which a lot of times it led me to come out and say this to D'Angelo Russell when he was bragging about, well, after he hit his game-winning three-point shot, that, people had only heard about me hitting him. Now they got to see it in person. It was more like this.
No, you ass, you moron dummy.
That's exactly how I felt about D'Angelo Russell when he was bragging about that, because, we didn't see them because they never happened, dude. They never happened. What are you bragging about? I mean, and plus you're, 24 years old? You're not Michael Jordan at, 54. Oh, people only dreamed. People only heard about my game-winning shots. Now they got to see it. Mm-hmm. Yep, we got to see Michael Jordan out there hitting his shots, against Cleveland Cavaliers, against Utah Jazz. You can go on forever. New York Knicks, game-winning shot. The Atlanta Hawks when he came back and he hit the game-winning shot, wearing number 45 for a couple games. That was probably one of his best games, wearing number 45. I guess the Knicks one was, the double nickel. But, point made. D'Angelo Russell, what an ass. I'm not impressed with D'Angelo Russell. And go ahead and attack me or attack other people for saying they're sick and tired of the hatred. You're coming out and saying you're sick and tired of the hatred towards D'Angelo Russell. Well, he's going to keep getting it if he keeps with the flimsy attitude and the flimsy behavior. Sure, he must have an injury. I understand that, but I don't know. I don't think he was any part of any solution when he was out there. I would have loved to believe that. I wanted D'Angelo Russell to succeed. But is he immune to criticism? Hell no. Of course he's not immune to criticism. And of course there's no perfect player. Karl Anthony Towns is not immune to criticism. In fact, he missed some pretty gimme shots down the stretch against the New York Knicks yesterday. It's sad. Odds are, obviously, Ryan Saunders was probably good to be gone anyway. It looks like there were back-channel conversations going on with Chris Finch for an extended period of time. There probably were. I mean, of course there were. And then now it's like, well, it is what it is. I would hope that the Timberwolves, Gerson Rosas, got permission from the Toronto Raptors to talk to him. I'm sure they did, obviously. And sounds like there'll be an announcement sometime today that Chris Finch is your Minnesota Timberwolves head coach. We'll continue to move forward a bit, talking about Ryan a little bit more. Again, you had the COVID-19 again with Karl Anthony Towns as well this year. When Karl missed extended period, it wasn't really as much the wrist, maybe a little bit, but more so the COVID-19 that extended for a long time because he has an underlying issue. None of us know what that is, unfortunately, but I guess it's none of our business. Last year, Ryan Saunders was, he had some players out there that a lot of us hadn't really heard of much. Cam Reynolds, obviously. Cater Bates-Jop, we'd heard of him. Jared Bayless, but they weren't good. Like in Jared Bayless' case, he wasn't that good anymore. That kind of thing. He never got to coach Robert Covington after that big trade when we acquired Robert Covington. And then, of course, trading him away later on. It was just a mess. It was an absolute mess for Ryan Saunders. I do think he got a little bit of a short straw at the end of the day when it comes to the situations with players being healthy, players being there, this and that. I do think he got a short straw. And, of course, a system put together that doesn't match the current roster at all. Not even close. You want to shoot 35 or 43s a game when guys can't make them. Certain guys are starting to make them, and obviously Karl can. And, we're having a lot of French dips this year because we're getting to the 12 three-pointers and plus beyond that. But how many attempts is it taking to get there? That's the other thing. We shot great from three-point range yesterday. Let's be fair about that. 16 to 35, 45%. That's awesome. If you do that all the time, that's great. Ryan Saunders would still have a job. But, he got a short straw with a few things, did Ryan Saunders. And at the end of the day, I'm not banging on Gerson Rosas' door saying, F you, you did wrong here. You did foul. You played foul here with Mr. Ryan Saunders. No, I think he was probably too young. He was too in over his head. He was unable to really get to players that he needed to get to, namely Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell especially, about certain things. The defense was significantly better of late, and that will draw the ire of, some of these things that pop up that drive me crazy. but it'll draw the ire of Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, who used to play for and work with David Vanderpool, of course, of the Portland Trail Blazers. Damian Lillard ranting about something, and of course, this topic is going to get brought up all the time until, it's brought up a lot. Let's just leave that as is. Damian Lillard says on Twitter, "How the hell do you not hire David Vanderpool, and he's right there on the bench, and has been in the front office successfully, and on the front of a bench of a winning team successfully 7 years. I would be with Portland, not here. And also played a major role in the development of a dominant backcourt, shaking my damn head." And then C.J. McCollum, of course, quote tweeted it, make it make sense, respectfully. It makes sense, C.J. McCollum, that he had already probably wanted to hire this guy in the first place instead of Ryan Saunders. Don't make it something it's not, C.J. McCollum or Damian Lillard, because we know what they're saying. Yes, obviously he's a good coach. I think he has a future in the league. It is kind of, he probably should be a head coach somewhere, maybe. But then again, the defense was not good for the longest time. All of a sudden, it's finally been better. Is it David Vanderpool? Is it just general? I don't know. It probably is David Vanderpool helping out. We'll see what happens, but it does look like, again, it's going to be Chris Finch as head coach of the Timberwolves with David Vanderpool still there in the same role, like kind of associate head coach. It makes sense that Mr. Gerson Rosas has made up his mind, and I don't think, I just want to tell these guys, don't make it something it's not. I don't think that's the reason. I won't go any further into it. I just don't think that's the reason. I don't think so, okay? A lot of people love to assume that all the time, which I don't think that's a healthy way to look at the world. I really don't. Ryan Saunders, obviously, again, the epic collapses. I think that's a huge part of why he's not here. Get this team under control a little better. That's the thing. Hopefully Chris Finch can do that. I'm not 100% confident or sure that he can, but we'll see. Apparently they won a G League championship years ago in 2010. G League Chris Finch and Gerson Rosas. G League Rosas, right? Yeah, maybe that is all he's good for is the G League. We'll see. But the Grand Valley Vipers in the Rockets organization when Finch was the head coach, and of course general manager Gerson Rosas won the championship. They won the championship with an envelope pushing style in 2010. All threes and layups. The approach would eventually transplant to the Rockets under Mike D'Antoni with Finch as an assistant. And of course this is courtesy of John Krasinski, AP Krasinski. No, he's not AP anymore. Johnny Athletic, AP Krasinski. This is Johnny Athletic on the Athletic, of course. Johnny Krasinski. So, of course, going to cite him, the article, the information, this and that. Always appreciate what he's able to do and to give us. But, yeah, the constant blowouts. You're thinking, okay, why didn't they just fire Ryan after the blowouts? But then, we were getting blown out in multiple games here. We just happened to magically come back and then still lose. That's the thing. So it's like one way or another. The fact you're falling behind in the first place and then running out of gas once you catch up, it's just like, okay, whatever. Like one way or another, a loss is a loss at the end of the day. We made an epic comeback. Like people make fun of the Minnesota Wild, their furious rallies. Well, the Timberwolves have been making furious rallies lately. It's beautiful. It looks awesome. Just imagine buying the stock. When you look at the stock chart here, against the New York Knicks, this would be the win probability chart that they have on Yahoo. I really like looking at this thing. It was down in the doldrums. New York Knicks, 95.3% chance of winning the game. This was early in the fourth quarter. And then the thing skyrockets. You would have made how much money, right, if this was a stock? Like, imagine it skyrocketed like $30-40 or something. I'm just imagining. And then collapse. 100% Knicks win. It was an utter collapse just within like 2 minutes. It was unbelievable how that could happen. And there was some like sell and buyback opportunities along the way. But it is just epic when you look at it. I posted it on Twitter and Facebook at TWolvesEX. That's the Twitter account. Thank you, Nick Borbom, for joining. Must be listening to the show still. Thank you so much for joining. Of course, old friend from Hopkins High School. And we also went to a 2-year class after that. Where it kind of it's a class where it kind of gets young adults ready to move on to their adult life. How to manage things, this and that. Pretty cool. Really love Nick Borbom. Great guy. Class of 1998. Yes, we're that old. We're in our 40s now. Can you believe that? We're in our 40s. Who would have thought the late 90s would be a long time ago? Well, they are now. Look how young Kevin Garnett was in '98. Kevin Garnett's turning 45 in May. It sucks. But thank you, Nick, so much for joining. Of course, Facebook.com/Timberwolves Explosion. Let's look at most likely new Timberwolves coach, Chris Finch. Still called an assistant coach of the Toronto Raptors at the moment. The world champion Toronto Raptors, about a year and a half ago now. That was pretty cool that they won that, actually. As long as it's over those stupid-ass Golden State Warriors, then I'm happy. Okay, born on November 6, 1969 in Cambridge, Ohio. And, of course, he is American, 6'2", yes, good for him. He was a guard, of course. He played ball. He played high school of West Lawn, Pennsylvania. West Lawn. Wilson, West Lawn, Franklin, and Marshall. That's where he went to college for 4 years, 88 to 92. So he was class of 88, must have been in high school. That's cool. Cool year, of course. NBA draft, went undrafted in 92, and played from 93 to 97 in the NBA. Shooting guard, small forward at 6'2". Really? They didn't play small ball like that back then, did they? And he's been coaching since 1997. The Sheffield Forgers / Sharks. Cool. Okay. Sheffield Sharks after that. They changed. They were the Sheffield Forgers and became the Sharks. And from 93 to 97. And then he stayed. They were the Sharks. He was a player for that club. Pardon me. That must be in the CBA. Then he became the head coach of the Sheffield Sharks from 97 to 03. And he was the coach of the Gießen 46ers. From 03 to 04. Oh my God, these words are weird. What the heck? Okay, Euphony Bree. Okay, the Euphony Bree. 2004 to 2007. The Euphony Bree, a former professional team, unfortunately. They were dissolved in 2010. That must be Greece. Athletes League. That sounds like Greece to me. It must be, yeah. Gießen 46ers. That's kind of cool looking. Actually, kind of cool looking logo. Wonder what that has to do with 46. That's Germany. Yep, so he'd gone overseas. Okay, we'll continue. Dexia Mons Hainaut. Okay. Hainaut. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. That sounds, Belgian. Okay, cool. So like Belgian, Germany area. 07 to 09. Rio Grande. There we go. Valley Vipers. Sounds more familiar. The Rio Grande. Valley Vipers. Rio Grande. That's in Texas. And they won they won it all, baby. They won it all together in 2010. Mr. Gerson and Mr. Chris Finch. Houston Sprockets. 2011 to 2016. Oh, man. Yep, they had a chance. Associate head coach of the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets, 16 to 17. Nolans Pelicans, associate head coach. So he's always been an associate head coach, it seems like. He's been up there, kind of like David Vanderpool. 2017 to 2020. Toronto Raptors, 2020 to today. Assistant. All right. So, well, he's been kind of an associate head coach for quite a few years now. Looks like since 16 till today. So, there you go. He's been all over the place. He's had opportunities. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens with Chris Finch. Cool that he was able to be, he was able to play a little bit in the NBA earlier on. He probably was Gerson's guy from the beginning, but I think there was a little nudge, wink, with Ryan and Glenn Taylor. And then Glenn Taylor ended up signing off when things just got so, things just kept getting worse and worse, and things just weren't getting better under Ryan. It's not even if they were getting worse, they just weren't getting better under Ryan Saunders. It was just one of those things. Like his tenure was on life support. And, and I'm not making any light of anybody on life support, believe me. But no, it was like that. It was really sad. It was a drag. It was sad to watch the collapses. You want to see the guy succeed. You want to see so badly him succeed. And that the fairy tale, as John Krasinski worded in his awesome article. Really well written, by the way. That was really, really well written. It was like a perfect little fairy tale that unfortunately was what it was, a fairy tale. Fairy tales come to an end, unfortunately. The beautiful stagecoach turned into a pumpkin. Unfortunately, and there were no glass slippers this time around, unless it's going to show up on a different roster, different club someday, many years later. Maybe he'll coach the Timberwolves again. You never know. Flip Saunders coached the Timberwolves again after being let go many years ago. So I guess you just never know. You can hope for the best. As for now, though, Chris Finch, the stage is yours, buddy, and good luck. I'm not going to buy the conversation that, oh my God, they didn't even look at this. They didn't even, they didn't look at minority coaches, this and that. I'm not going to go into that. I don't think that's true. I just think this was his guy. And sometimes it's your guy. It is what it is. Sometimes that's who you wanted all along. And that's who he wanted to hire at the beginning. And he interviewed quite a few minority candidates, him being Gerson Rosas at the time. With that said, though, I guess that's it. God bless Ryan Saunders, hoping for the best, and good luck with the new child. Obviously 2 now, after that one comes out of the oven, as they say. It's a crying shame. This was his dream. It was his dream. And hey now, the dream is over. The 80s song. Yeah. I don't yeah, I feel bad for him, but again, justifiable at this stage. Hopefully Chris Finch can get the reins here, coach them a bit harder, coach some of these guys a bit harder, and that they will listen. They will listen, they will follow. And if it doesn't work, Mr. Gerson Rosas will be exposed as a fraud, because this doesn't work in the NBA. Me, personally, I don't like small ball, and I don't like shooting 99 three-pointers. I'm not stuck in 1985 either, necessarily, even though some part of me might be. I'll take anything. I'll take any music or video game from back in the day, back then, compared to today, any day of the week. But if you have to adjust to the modern style of the NBA, it is what it is. But maybe this is a little bit too overboard. We'll see. Hopefully there's a bit of a balance here. That, there's the new school. It is what it is. I mean, you can do it correctly, like Golden State and like other teams have done. This and that. As much as I hate the Warriors, they do it correctly. They did it well enough, and of course you got to have the right personnel to do so as well. Keep them coming, and hopefully Mr. Guys like Jaden McDaniels and such can continue to develop in this group, because obviously he can shoot the 3. Carl can shoot the 3. Culver, I don't think he can, but maybe. Okoye, don't even bother. Just don't even bother, unless he's going to be having the most epic summer of all time, working on that 3-point shot, and he comes back and it's like, holy cow. What were we missing? Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I'm very skeptical at this stage. And Anthony Edwards improved that bleeping jump shot, and you will be a bona fide superstar, and Chris Finch will look pretty good at the end of the day, as will President of Basketball Operations Gerson Rosas. Well, we'll talk to you on Friday, and we'll actually review the game against the New York Knicks. I wanted to get to what some of you had to say. I was almost going to wrap it up. That would have been rude of me. I did want to get to what some of you had to say, like Vince and Tene mostly. So I'll actually get caught up on this part. It's all on Twitter, not on Facebook, at TWolvesEX, at TWolvesEX. I went way too far down. Way too far down. There we go. The last show, the It Factor, was retweeted by Tene, Vince, and Levi Brown. Thank you guys so much, Tene and Levi from New Zealand, and Vince Germano from Australia. The Courtside Podcast, massive shout out to them always. Tene Brown was saying, we lost to a team full of G League players. That was against Toronto at the time. Don't need elite talent to be a good defensive team. Was one of my takeaways from that game. Oh, yeah, so true. I was saying it was ridiculous, especially when you consider how far behind we were for such a long time. We go on a 21-1 run and still lose. See what I mean? How we were behind, and then we go on that massive run and still lose. Pathetic execution down the stretch. The Bums couldn't even make a shot. Yep, it's just like last night against the Knicks. Tene says, I would have preferred, and he nails it right on the wall right here. And this is what helped fire Ryan Saunders. This is what helped cost Ryan Saunders his job, as written also by John Krasinski. I would have preferred we closed with McLaughlin on the floor instead of Rubio. At least McLaughlin draws in defense when he goes to the rim. Yeah, exactly, because Rubio doesn't really help. Trying to predict the future, are we, Vince? New coach, anyone? Yep, new coach. Chris Finch. Yep. Let's see, a couple more. Towns' shot selection in the last 6 to 7 minutes at times was terrible, save for 1 or 2 shots. Then after the game, smiling and laughing. Give me a spell. Yep, I can't disagree with that. I really can't. I'll probably rehash some of that, but maybe I won't be able to now because it'll have a new show in the way. But we'll see if my mind allows me to go back. You'd think Saunders, yep, here we go. Tene Brown, New Zealand. You'd think Saunders would try something different, considering how badly we finished close games. Exactly, but he didn't. That's the thing. Yep. And then, exactly, man. Vince comes back, says, at least when the Knicks needed a bucket, Randall went inside. Did it work every time? No. But he put pressure on the refs and the Wolves D, and he scored or drew the foul. I feel for Timberwolves fans. Haven't won anything in 30 years, and the culture is terrible. Yes, it is. And here we go. Yep, he says, I hate, Vince continues, says, I hate beating up on the Timberwolves because I really do like them, but this is getting ridiculous now. Keep going and you will lose Towns. Then it starts again with Edwards, and you lose him too. It's a cycle that won't end until there's a massive culture change. I agree 1,000% with that. We need a massive culture change, and hopefully Mr. Chris Finch can do that. I believe I responded with that, and then Vince tweets it out. Adrian Wojnarowski, the Minnesota Timberwolves, have dismissed Coach Ryan Saunders. Sources tell ESPN. Okay, I'm just kidding. I think I responded. Why didn't it show up? That's ridiculous. I know I responded to him. Or maybe I just read it and I wanted to keep it here. Vince also, yeah, boy, he scooped me again because I got super tired right after the game. I just fell asleep. I was in my chair. I fell asleep. And then I wake up at like midnight. What the heck happened to me? I have no idea. And all of a sudden it says, Saunders fired. You should do an emergency podcast if you can. This is about 10 p.m. here. Of course, much different time in Australia. There must have been in the, I don't know what time that would be. Probably the morning there. Maybe the early afternoon. And then here I am now doing it on Monday morning. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. But, yeah, Vince, you're always scooping me. But that's good, though. I appreciate it. Believe me, he's doing me a favor there. Because what if I didn't even know until I woke up? So at least I'm more mentally prepared, ready to go in the morning. Because by the time I saw it was already midnight, and I was just, the cobwebs weren't going to come out. You know, when you fall asleep and you wake up and it's after a while and it's like late already, you're not gonna be able to keep moving the way you want to. So I still feel a little weird today, and I know I'm not hungover, so that's not what it is. It's just I'm just tired. I don't know why, but. Well, and I'm sad a little too. I'm sad. I'm not rooting for the firing of Ryan Saunders. I'm sure Vince wasn't either, and Tanay and others, but it's just one of those things. It had to be done. It had to be done. He's just not ready to be head coach of the Timberwolves. It was the wrong team, wrong time, too early, wrong general manager, I believe as well. I think so. And I don't think Gerson Rosas is going to be the president of basketball operations. Let's say 3 years from now, he's not going to be. I don't think so. I think he's going to be fired too. And if I was the head coach of the Timberwolves, I would give him if I was a multi-billionaire, I was the next Glenn Taylor, but in a good way. I was a good Glenn Taylor, like a smart one that's, maybe better at running the team than him. I don't know, God willing. But say if I was like, the local knight in shining armor with the big bucks that keeps the team here and makes the fans happy, so to speak, I'd give Gerson 1 year, and I would probably let him go. That would probably be it. Unless I was blown away, like, holy cow, he really is doing a good job. This is amazing. I'd probably let him go. But we'll see. That's just my guess, because I don't like the vision right now. I like the players he's drafted, for the most part, except for Culver. I didn't like that very much. God bless Culver. Hopefully he does better. But at the end of the day, that's all just wait and see. Anthony Edwards, and then, of course, Jaden McDaniels might be a fantastic pick. But the overall vision, the idea of small ball and shooting 1 billion threes, I'm not 100% confident in that yet. With that said, I will now finally shut up and let you get back to your day. God bless Ryan. Good luck, Chris Finch, and we'll talk to you on Friday.